The two workhorses are the North Plant and the Colorado. They're about 10 or 11 feet in the safe zone still. We can go down a little bit.
Hector, let me know what that means, the safe zone.
Well, I mean, it's a static level. There's once it decreases, we either have to pull it up and add a pipe down to get down to the water and to where the surface is. Normally we're about maybe 13 feet deep into the surface. We don't ever go all the way down to the well.
So whenever you have to put more pipe, what does that mean?
That means the static has dropped. And the demand has either lack of rainfall or too much demand from the community and the ranchers.
How long does that take to get done?
What's that?
So to place another pipe, I mean, just.
Well, it's regular maintenance, about a week, about 5 days. Usually about 5 days, but if it's just bearing maintenance, vibration, or if we know the static is good, it usually takes about a day.
Is it free?
No, not at all, but we budget for it, so we're good.
Hector, in your opinion, is there a point that we should go into some sort of restriction?
I think, I would say if it doesn't get any better in the next couple of weeks, I would definitely consider it.
Because San Antonio's fixing to go into stage 3.
Stage 3, yeah, we're about there, I would say, about a week or two away from.
Is that something we should start considering for the next meeting?
The rules that the council has in place, you actually have some contingency plans in there. We probably need to look at them and review them again and to modify them because they're not in a lot of detail. But normally when we start looking at them is whenever, of course, the wells are having stress issues, and when we pull a well. So meaning if he takes one offline, then it's gonna affect the overall, the other wells, right? So at that point, we need to go into certain water restrictions. So Hector and I talked about that. So depending on the static levels to the Colorado,
Colorado and Northern Maine.
if that still keeps showing some signs of stress, then we may have to pull it, and then we have to go into some sort of water restriction. So that's what we've been discussing.
What effect does it do on the wells if we get down to the stress level? Does it affect
On the remaining wells,
Yeah.
if we put one down, if we turn one down, the GPM, we base it off of GPM, gallons per minute, and what that does is it'll actually stress them out even more. I mean, but the ones we have, the remaining they're all rehab. I mean, so they're good. They can take stress a little better than the Colorado. Our Colorado is by far the most important plant that we have in this town, and if we turn that one off, then it'll definitely stress some of the little ones. But the most producing one is the east plant, believe it or not. But it has the lesser distance to travel. So, but it feeds most of the people. I mean, there's a lot of gallons coming out of the GPMs coming out of the east plant.
Are we able to maintain throughout the day, the tanks?
For the time being, yes. We had a little issue with the Cherry because we were operating off of one tank for specific reasons, and then but once we brought that, once we yeah. We had an issue with the Cherry plant, because we were running. It's got two holding tanks, and we were only running one tank for a while there for specific reasons, but once we brought that one back online, everything fixed. So we were no longer we're right at the right age. We're holding water just enough to supply the community.
Well, and if you look at this year versus last year, I mean, we were a little rougher shape this time of year than we were last year. We got some good rains, and we're 3 weeks away from September, which typically we get some rain. So we are a little bit ahead of the game just weather-wise on that, but it is awfully hot and brutal out there. So anyway, Council, I want to point out to you guys too, and just congratulate the utility director and the city manager. We've paved this is our 5th road this year, is that right? Fourth road this year. So anyways, you guys probably get the most calls from your constituents about the condition of the road. I appreciate the efforts that they did and found a little extra money. We went over and above what we originally indicated that we would do. So, and I haven't seen the Colorado Road, the Carter Road completed yet, but these others are great, so I really appreciate what you guys have done, and thank you. I think that's
Okay.
yeah.
Mayor.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Sonia
Mayor, I have a
has
question.
Yeah, yes. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Um,
Sonia.
I was gonna ask, Hector, on the Carter edition on the road, Hector, do you think that there's gonna be, whenever we get rain, that there'll be any water standing on it?
I would say yes, I would, to be honest, I would say yes, because that area belongs to TxDOT, and they decided that they didn't have it in funds to rehab it at the moment, but it is in the plans to do it soon, I don't know how soon, but that's all I got out of
To
it.
address the drainage, for
Well,
TxDOT to address that.
To redo that whole, because that part of the road is concrete.
Yeah.
And so it has to, it's completely TxDOT right away. So we only paved to the boundary there, and we don't do concrete. It's super expensive. And so unless they address it, and I would think that the flooding issues, we can do stuff to our natural drainage there by maybe sloping it a little better and taking some of that topsoil off, but the problem's gonna remain, maybe not as bad, but it should stay, it should remain, somewhat.
And these roads are,
And you did say it was completely, y'all were done with that road?
We're completely done, 100%, completely out of there. I mean, we still got our equipment there, but being that they're so heavy, we're not allowed to take them out for 72 hours, so they'll remain there for the next 3 days.
all right, you had a question, Brenda?
Yeah, well, he answered one of them, which was, I thought I heard him say that it was complete. So, do you have any pictures?
Not at the moment, I mean, I do have them, I have before, during, and after, but they'll be on the 14th.
Meeting on the 14th, y'all taking all this thunder from the 14th to 15th.
It'll be on full display,
All right.
every street that we've done will be on full display.
Okay,
Before and
very
after.
good. Anything else, Utility Director?
That's all I got.
All right, you guys, thank you very much. Okay. All right, that's it for our reports. Moving on to the next item, we've got presentation, the budget workshop for hotel occupancy tax and related events for 23-24 fiscal year. City Manager?
Yes, Mayor, Council, you have in your packet, some of the budgets for, hotel occupancy tax. So the two budgets that we prepared, and actually there's groups here that are here to talk to you on behalf of their organizations for the funds that they're requesting. And again, maybe what they're requesting and what the council authorizes to give may be different, but they're here. And I appreciate them being here, all the groups that are here. So I believe you have the Chamber of Commerce here. You also have Motormouth Entertainment here, Good Doctors here, and I'm missing somebody. Playbusters, I don't know if they're here, but there's 4 organizations that I believe are requesting funding for this year. So what we'd like to do this year, for you to hear them with their requests, and then during the year as they move forward with their projects or their event, that we fund them according to what's approved in the budget, to what the council approves in the budget. So, and then the other thing I wanted to go over, and Bianca's here is gonna go over, that'll be somewhere towards the end, is the events that the city of Pearsall has. I know that there's been questions of what events we have, how much we budget, what events we wanna see or do. So we'd like to get, before anybody leaves the room, we'd like to get some consensus as to what events we wanna do for this year.
City Manager, do you want to give the floor?
Yeah, the chamber is here.
Chamber.
Here.
Dr. first. Dr. Sanchez with the Chamber, you first.
So their budget's on the new handout that they're on.
These are some updates, refer to them handout.
Like Fund 22, community development.
On this last one.
It's on page 52 in your packet.
He did updates, he wants them to follow us.
Good evening, thank you all for your time, allowing us to present again for our request for to reinitiate the Chamber of Commerce of Pearsall. We continue to work, the entire team. We do need support to get this organization up and running. We do hope to be as self-sufficient as possible. We know we need to continue to get the support of the city council and of course of the community to continue to earn their trust. We look forward to helping the business communities, but we're also focused on helping our community at large. So Our budget request initially was based upon some numbers that were provided to us when we were in our infancy. So we try to stay within those guidelines, but there are some needs. We'd like to have an executive director, there's a day-to-day. We'd like to do, of course, a visitor's guide that we can promote as well, to promote all the local businesses. So those are, who we're hoping to bring on. We've all had, anyone who's a member, you all probably heard as well, there is a lot of interest from the community, so we're looking forward to addressing that. But we do humbly come in and ask for your support. The funds will be monitored, they'll be well used, and it's strictly for promoting our community of Pearsall.
So having that said, I think the proposed budget that everybody has in front of them came under what we were looking at. And I guess notably is there's nothing there for administrative assistant. And it was a little lower than we expected for the executive director. Our logic there was we were hoping to find quality employees. Most notably the executive director position. We're looking for someone that can really knock it out of the park for our chamber. This person's gonna be the face of the chamber, and we wanna be able to provide them with something, so we want them to be qualified. That's why we aim for a little bit of a higher number. We were asking for 65 on this proposed budget that you guys have in front of you. I think it's at 50. And then there's nothing for an administrative assistant, so we're just, the logic there again was just, this person's gonna need help if he's gonna be able to perform, to the best of his ability. Someone to handle the clerical stuff at the office. And then, on one of the previous proposed budgets, I believe there was some funds for, potential overtime. There's nothing in there either, so just something to consider that would help. We're just trying to plan out for everything, that we can think of to make, at the very least, the executive director, and if granted funding, an administrative assistant to be able to, for them to do their job as best as they can, and be comfortable with it. The other thing that kind of stood out was, there was nothing for, what is it, for the hot audits and the CPA services. There's nothing in there for that, and, one of the main concerns that we have is to make sure that everything is accounted for. We want transparency, but we don't have anything in that proposed budget that you guys have in front of you for those CPA services.
Can you all share the budget? I don't know that I gave this to the council, the budget that y'all have.
I can't find it.
You guys.
Sure.
I think I put that in front of you.
Maybe I was on that one. Was it the one with 270?
This is what we had brought up last time.
No, I just.
Oh, the big fish in the room, maybe I'll show it on
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Let me see that one also.
What page was it on the book, sir?
This is page 52.
So it's in your budget book, but the only change was on 401.
Maintenance, suspender maintenance is $30,000, and maintenance on beachings for that, the finance for that.
So in your book? Okay, yeah. I took 30,000 in the book, so that's why I was on
And council, as you're looking over that, first and foremost, Chamber know that we're again, very grateful, and I know this budget is somewhat deflated from what you had indicated. A pretty big number of that is community promotions. We did leave a figure of 25,000 as kind of seed money to get things going. Of course, so it is big, and council, this is what we're gonna be doing next week as we meet for our workshop. We're gonna be considering these requests, considering the things that the city manager, the department heads are saying is mandatory, and looking at this. And so understand there's a lot of constraints, and again, these men and women have been working really hard to get this within budget. And again, because it is somewhat deflated, don't let that steer you in the wrong direction, that we're not wholeheartedly behind what you guys are doing, and we want to support you as much as we can. But anyway, that, again, we will be looking at this and seeing there's some other things that we very desperately need to address as well. But I just want, from my perspective, and I don't want to speak on behalf of the council, but we recognize the work that you've done and the importance that you play in us moving forward in waving the banner for Pearsall-Frio County for the development of this community. So,
Thank
know that we
you,
want to partner.
and same thing, appreciate it. Definitely appreciate every bit of help, and we will make it happen one way or the other. So we're more than appreciative.
well,
Since we had the ability to ask, we're gonna ask,
Sure.
to make it as great as we can, but we know
yeah.
budgets, we all know budgets, we're,
You
busy
guys
so
want
much,
to
so thank you.
go
Thank you
over
for your
budget
support.
that way, maybe what y'all propose, that way we're not, and again, we had balanced the budget, but that doesn't mean that, again, as you guys discussed it, that there can't be changes, so just wanted to make sure that this is not set in stone, just so.
I appreciate it.
Well, I guess the main thing is, starting with personnel, we were hoping for an executive director and an administrative assistant. The executive director was, we're asking for 65, and then administrative assistant, is it 37?
Correct. There's something.
37.5. And then office supplies, I mean, that seems like a bit high, but we're at 12,500. Continuing down to services. A lot of this stuff, again, it's our first time doing this and putting it together, so there's flexibility in there, but under services, the biggest thing that we wanted to know is like the funds for auditing and the CPA services. This is based off of the numbers that we saw on a very early version of a proposed budget that we received before we were, already beginning to be an entity. So this kind of reflects that there. And those are the most notable things, I guess I would say. After that, it's all just routine stuff for like building maintenance, just to be able to function as an entity from our building, the Chamber of Commerce building. But I would say the CPA services and the salaries for what we're hoping for to be able to hire with, is just kind of what we're mainly looking for a little bit more on, to be able to do the job of the chamber as best as we can. I don't know if you want to add anything else to that.
And one of the things we should see the chamber be able to do is as they promote, citizens and businesses starting to join. So there should be some revenue that comes in, which is completely at their disposal as well. And I anticipate that happening, and some of this seed money should bring fruit. So you'll see this again next week as we
Mayor,
talk about this.
we won't see it again, but we have utilities and we have, general funds, so we're asking for the dialogue tonight.
Okay.
So again, any questions y'all may have, I know that their budget was short, I mean, as far as the time you had to review it, but any questions you may have, and then, we just to kind of put it in a little perspective, we're anticipating a revenue of $330,000 for next year.
From hotel.
Which is the funds that we primarily take for funding chambers, CVBs, events that we have, organizations we support. So that is how we kind of came to the dollar amount of still being able to support some of the events that we've supported historically, the Hispanic Heritage, the museum, Playbusters, and then separating some funding for the Chamber of Commerce. Again, it's not, what we put in there was just, again, to balance the budget. The additional thing we put in there was our match for the Texas Parks and Wildlife, that funding for the park, which you'll see there on.
So you have two, Fund 22, you have the admin, so what they got earlier in the year was admin and Chamber of Commerce. But what I did for this upcoming budget, I broke off admin, which is what we manage, and then the chambers. That's why you have two different funds.
Right.
And I believe that's where they got the hot audits and the CPA audits, the supplies, the technology, because that was budgeted last year for the events that we do. So this year, we broke them off and gave chambers their own, page, and then the page before you're looking, the one before chambers is the admin, Fund 22, which is the capital outlay 750, the civic center, the repairs, utilities, and all that the city has managed before, the hot fund, the CPA, and all that. So the chamber has their own separate page.
So in a nutshell, they don't need to worry about a hot audit, because we're gonna do it.
Correct.
So that will be done.
So,
Just on our,
That was
on our side,
in
not
the
yours.
contract for the convention visitors